Namaste, friends. It's raining outside, and all you can think about is sweet fritters. Fritters can also be sweet, surprising, right? For this recipe, I'm using a tropical fruit, jackfruit. If you don't have access to this, you can use banana or you can use even apple and pineapple. Along with that, I'm also using rice and coconut, which is very nourishing to our body. Come on, let's get started. For this recipe, we basically need soaked rice, which I've soaked for around 1 hour. So we need 1 cup of the rice, any rice will do. And beaten rice, this is optional. This just gives the most softness to this recipe. Fresh grated coconut, if you don't have fresh grated, go for frozen. Date syrup, 2 tablespoons. And cardamom, around half teaspoon. And jackfruit, 1 cup. If you don't have jackfruit, you can use banana, apple or pineapple. It's your choice. First what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the rice, the soaked rice into a blender. Any rice will do for this. You can use Sona Masuri, anything, any raw rice. And I'm also adding beaten rice. This is optional. You really don't need this for the recipe. All it does is it adds some softness to this fritters. If you don't have it, it's fine. And add any fruit of your choice. Here I'm using jackfruit, 1 cup. Add some coconut and all tropical things, right? So I'm going to take the blender and just make it into a coarse paste before I add my date syrup. Why? Because it will give me a sense of how much liquidity or how much extra water I need for this recipe. And then I'm going to grind it again. And now it looks little coarse and little bit stiff, so I'm going to add a little bit more water and then again grind finely. It really depends on your recipe, so I would suggest not to add too much water because we need this consistency. It is very thick, still flowy consistency. If you add too much water, then it will soak up a lot of oil. We are also taking a pan. I've heated up the oil, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to just add a little bit just to check. See, the fritters are coming up. That means the consistency is perfect. If it's not coming up, that means your batter is too watery. What you can do is add a couple of tablespoons of rice flour to this mixture so that it will start floating up again. But try to avoid rice flour because if we want to do ancient way of doing it, then this is the recipe of ancient way of doing it. Any fruit will do for this recipe. If you don't have jackfruit, bananas also taste very great. I have done banana fritters and even pineapple. Anything will do. And this is very heartwarming and soothing recipe. So what I'm doing is I'm just adding a dollop of batter everywhere and it slowly comes up floating on the top. And I want to be really careful when I turn it on the other side because I want to make sure that it's little bit at least done until I turn it the other side. Otherwise what will happen is it will stick to your ladle and it's very difficult to clean. It's a messy affair. We don't want that. And I'm going to just let it fry until it's golden brown. Because it's not only, it has mild sweetness to it. You can adjust your date syrup, but I would suggest not to put too much sweet in it because fruit itself is sweet and you're adding extra sweetness and they're quite tasty. They're like, it tastes like donuts, but not that. The texture is quite different. I mean, it's very difficult to explain. I would really suggest you to try this recipe once. And it's very tropical, just takes you back to your memory lane and very heartwarming. And if you have kids, they will love it. Make sure you make them these fritters. They're not only just healthy, but they're very homey. It's difficult to describe. So they're almost done now. So I'm just gonna see, and couple of them are really done. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take some tissue paper and I'm going to drain out all this. I'm going to pick it up. Do you see the color? That's the color what we want. That means they're quite done. And do you see the bubbles? The bubbles are clear. That means when bubbles are clear, that means it's well cooked. You don't have to do test on it because it's well cooked. The bubbles are clear. That's an indication. Yeah, that's the texture what we want. Since it's a sweet fritter recipe, it does take up a little bit more oil in it. If you don't want to fry it, you can also bake it. Or what you can do is you can also make like a pancakes in the pan, which will be a nice addition to this kind of recipe. You can make pancakes in this batter and it tastes very good. So now I'm going to drain out the oil, so I'm going to let it cool. Since it's sweet, you have to really cool it a little bit more and then serve it. Enjoy. And if you like the recipe, please don't forget to share. And please subscribe to Anurveda. Thank you.